social universe, where you learn the secrets of the social media through the social universe, and in many cases the secrets of the universe itself. And today we're talking a little bit about politics. And any of you out there who are wondering what politics and social media and web advertising have to do with each other, it's just a matter of getting the word out. And I would say that Obama was probably the first one that really mastered the use of the social media and gained the support of the young people. And up to that point, the voting bloc of young people really hadn't done much, and they hadn't done any fundraising, but all of a sudden they were great fundraisers, and all of a sudden they were great voters as well. So politics was forced to face the fact that web advertising, social media are definitely, and getting donations through that is a major part of politics. So we're transitioning now back into our discussion of John Rowan, who's running against Sheriff Arpaio here in Arizona, and we kind of left things a little bit where John was talking about his experience in New York in reforming the police department after it had not been reformed for about 100 years, and had a great experience, came out alive, and not without a few nicks and bruises, and did a great job, brought crime down by 74%. But where I would like to pick up our discussion is that he was able to coordinate in the ops side, in operations of 24 different government divisions on Ground Zero and 911. Were there any experiences, John, that you had where you could help us here in Arizona, since we weren't there, where it comes alive and helps us understand what it was really like to go through that, both from an operations perspective as well as the human side?
Absolutely. First of all, I think we all did go through that together on some level because of the media and how instant information is today. At the time, I did not realize that it was being broadcast throughout the world live. So in some respects, everyone does know where they were when the South Tower came down. Yeah, there are so many memories that I have from smaller things, like just the smells, the amount of shoes that were left in the street, even children's shoes, hundreds of them. People just ran out of their shoes. There was something called the Family Center. We needed law enforcement to gain information quickly, including where people were in the tower and around the towers. What did they see prior to the first plane striking? And I remember a woman came in, and she was from France, and she had 2 little children, and she was an au pair. Oh. And this was on day 2. And the woman, the mother, was in the South Tower and just never came home. And she spoke very little English. I speak a little French, so that's how I got involved at that point, and notified the French consulate and also the Bureau of Child Welfare. But now we had these 2 children whose mother wasn't ever coming home. And basically a babysitter from a foreign country wondering what to do. And there are just hundreds of stories like that. And then when we were interviewing people, you know, everyone would come to me and they would tell me what floor their loved one was on. And for the most part, you knew exactly from where the planes struck, you know, that
had any chance.
If they had a chance of getting out, if they're, you know, if they're in a hospital or somewhere wandering about, or more likely than not, if they've passed away. And I remember that being heartbreaking. And one of the things that really surprised me, and I interviewed hundreds of people that were present or family members searching for loved ones, not one of them expressed anger. Wow. And I don't think I was as pious as they were. I had lost 17 friends that day. I was angry. You know, I did have some inklings of where this might have come from. And I had anger that I had to work through.
Right. And that you were able to channel that anger in a positive way. And I think that's something that is a great example that you set along those lines. But that passion is what America has been built on for a long, long time. But channeling that passion, definitely. So then, you know, did a phenomenal job there, helped humanity. Definitely many, many lives were impacted in a positive way as a result of your actions there. And then you mentioned that you'd gone overseas. If you could bring that alive for us a little bit, too.
That's correct. I was country security manager for southern Iraq. And I worked with Department of Defense, and my job was to keep the 3,000 civilian employees attached to the Army, Marines, Navy as safe as possible, including convoys. I was also in charge of all the convoys that left south from
It's a little bit stressful because
absolutely. That was disorganization personified, and my job was to vet all the local truck drivers.
Oh wow!
Which was just phenomenally difficult.
I bet that was, and just not knowing all the different cultural backgrounds. It's very varied. We think that Iraq is Iraq, and it's really
not at all.
Very diverse.
And if someone shows up and wants a job and has a license to drive a rig, and in their town they keep no records and they haven't kept records in 600 years, how do you vet this person?
Sure.
Yeah, so it had its challenges.
Well, that is absolutely wonderful that you're able to go out there and help. You've been wonderful in the line of duty. And so then in coming, tell us from there, what as you arrived back in the United States, tell us a little bit more about what you did in life, and as you the pathway that led to where you are now.
Sure. I came back, and I was somewhere in the age around 42, and New York is a great place, but it can also be a good place to be from as well. I was looking to make a change. I wanted to find somewhere where at least you can park a car when you go to a restaurant.
Without it being $180.
The cost of living, exactly, and the hustle and bustle, and I wanted to go somewhere else, and I was offered a position out in the West Valley to help reform the Goodyear Police Department and help reorganize them, because their population had doubled in 3 years, and now from a tiny police department to a mid-sized police department. And I went to assist them with that, and I was my title was the assistant to the chief of police, and I handled the detective bureau. I helped reorganize them. I brought the CompStat Foreign Police Management there, and obviously in a small town you don't have 2,000 murders, but thank God, within 30 days though, we cut the response time down of a police officer from 7 minutes to 3 minutes and 28 seconds.
Phenomenal. How did you do that? What were some of the idea? You probably had some experience from New York.
Absolutely.
But what were some of the methods?
By holding them accountable, by tracking them. If you do, I often refer to it as trench warfare. If you just sit there and shoot back at the other guy once in a while and you don't think of anything different and nothing's changed in years, an organization will become lazy.
Sure.
And if no one is asking, how long did it take you to respond to that call, then nothing's going to improve. So we put a tracking device inside the police cars, and we just kept a tab on how long it would take them to respond. And within 30 days, they cut their response time in half.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's very good. And one of the things that I kind of want to bring up here is that status quo is never good. For example, I was a huge advocate of John McCain, but one of the concerns that I had as he was running for office is that he'd been entrenched so long that that we were going to get status quo. That sometimes just having, I know a lot of politicians run on change, but when you have something that, like the police department, that hadn't been reformed for 100 years, things get so entrenched that the people, anytime there's power involved, it can become something that, even though I really felt that John McCain did a great job, but being able to have change in government to where, if for no other reason, even though the person in office is doing a great job, if for no other reason, just to have the fact that the person in power flows a different direction and different people and different systems are in place, then amazing things happen, like response times get reduced. People no longer eat as many donuts, or the police, so to speak. They're actually out there fighting crime rather than eating donuts. But that's very simplified, and my apologies for simplifying that. But yeah, definitely that would be my 2 cents of why it's a great idea to be able to have our wonderful system that has term limits and things of that nature, because anytime anybody stays in office too long, things get entrenched in not necessarily positive ways. Things that may have been positive 15 years ago, maybe they're not that positive now. Okay, so moving on to you did some very positive things. How did that unfold then in Goodyear as you continue?
Well, one of the things that I'm running on is also a track record of ethics. Twice during my career, criminals have attempted to bribe me, and both times they've been arrested, and one of them tried to bribe me with twice my yearly salary, a suitcase full of money. So I came to Goodyear with a track record of ethics, and what happened, unfortunately, even though I was there to reform them, I feel that I wasn't able to complete the task. On April 6th of 2008, a murder took place. And from the very beginning, when I arrived into the office that day to assist, I got a very bad feeling about the way it was being conducted. And I ended up eventually testifying twice under federal oath to police misconduct within the Goodyear Police Department. And another employee also came forward to report police misconduct. And as a result of that, that employee and myself, we were terminated, even though I was under federal oath.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to. I don't want to end this segment on a bad note, but I want to compare this, and then we'll talk about it more in the next segment. Compare this to the chopping down of the cherry tree with George Washington. You know that even though it was a terrible thing to do on a farm to chop down a cherry tree, it was something that he fessed up to, and that in that particular case, he was the one that chopped down the tree. In your case, it was just somebody in your oversight, and I'm assuming that was the reason for the termination, or was there more to it for the termination? In other words, if you had lied under oath, then you would have been okay, is the understanding.
The termination was a direct result of me not going along with the good old boy form of government.
Right.
That's absolutely what it was. The only two individuals that have been terminated are the two whistleblowers, and a federal judge just ruled last week that in the case of the first whistleblower, it was definitely reasonable for her to come to the conclusion that the Goodyear Police Department was violating Arizona law.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
there's more to follow.
Absolutely. We want to debrief that because what's so important, where the original corruption occurs inside of almost any institution in any country is in the law enforcement side. And so being able to keep things clean from the outset, then if we can start at the beginning and don't ever let it progress into the other side, that really helps in politics, keeping clean politics. A lot of people don't realize it's not just about getting rid of lobbyists, it's making sure that the law enforcement side is kept clean as well. We'll talk about that more on the other side of the break. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll look forward to talking to everybody in just a moment.